like ideals, but it's not really for them. Oh, interesting. Interesting. It's not just Barack Obama, he inherited it. He inherited it. 30% of the people living on $1 a day. 35% illiterate. And yet we settle for stability because of our strategic interests and nothing but imperial arrogance owing to our geological and national security interests. How long do you think that's going to last? You're going to end up with a foreign policy built on a house of cards, living in a world of make-believe. Sooner or later, the demos are going to straighten their backs up. And it was quite significant that there in Cairo, that sublime sight of those slouched on called everyday people straightening their backs up in the face of tyranny. It's a beautiful thing. Even though we got to deal with the complex consequences, yes. But it's a beautiful thing to see. They were circulating the Arabic version of the Montgomery story comic book. So even if much of America forgets about black history, they didn't forget about black history. You could hear some of the poets when they got together. Say, oh, Martin Luther King Jr. used to say, anytime ordinary people straighten their backs up, they're going somewhere because folk can't ride your back unless it's bent. Yes, that's the visionary Negro preacher in Gut Bucket Jim Crow Montgomery in 1955. That's our brother Martin. A wave in an ocean of black history. What happens when folk who have been told that they're less moral, they're less beautiful, they're less intelligent? I'm talking about that lie called white supremacy. When folk have been told they got the wrong hips, they have the wrong lips, they have the wrong hair texture, they have the wrong skin color. That's the lie of white supremacy. Been told that for 400 years, and you begin to believe it. You begin to consent to your own oppression. You begin to disrespect, demean, and devalue other folk who especially look like you. Part of what we're dealing with right now in 2011 among too many young black people. They walk around like they big and bad, but all it does is just reflect the deep insecurity and immaturity of wanting a little tender love and care and not knowing how to gain access to that question of what it means to be human and begin to act out what they see on television. Scarface, him. I want to be like Scarface. Have you heard of A. Philip Randolph? Check him out before you move to Scarface. Well, everybody else is a gangster in the culture. Well, you know, black folk were dealing with slavery for 244 years. 244 years of slavery. 52,500 voyages from Africa to the New World, from the 15th century to the 19th century. And what did black folk do in the face of slavery? For the most part, stole away at night, in the dark. It was against the law for black people to worship God without white supervision in the so-called land of religious liberty. A non-literate people. It's against the law for black people to learn how to read. All right. So what did we do? We stole away at night, held hands in a ring shout, and lifted our voices. Had no control of land, no control of territory, no control of body. Black males worked sun up to sundown. Black females worked sun up, sundown, systematically, chronically, violated and raped. Holding hands at night with tears in their eyes and saying, somebody sing a song. One of the preachers would say, you know, we should never confuse our situation with that of the Israelites in the Old Testament. It seems as if Pharaoh was on both sides of the bloody Red Seas for us. Sing the song, Johnson. And in that song, in that voice, were all of the dreams of freedom and emancipation. In that voice would come spirituals, hundreds of them that will be heard until the ends of time. That's finding your voice. That's resisting slavery. And resisting what? In a form of taking the moral and spiritual high ground. That's what Brother Malala Karenga has in mind. How do we take the high ground? For me, probably the greatest moment in black history, American history, in some ways modern history, when it comes to moral and spiritual high ground, was the moment of Emmett Till's mother. You all remember Brother Emmett Till? Mm. Our precious brother from Chicago went down to Red Bucket, Jim Crow, Mississippi, and was killed by cowardly white supremacists, cowardly American terrorists. Threw his body in the Tallahatchie River. Took 5 days to find it. Emmett Till said, I'm going to find that body. We're bringing it back to Chicago, and kept that casket open. Robert Temple's Church of God in Christ in Chicago, 50,000 fellow citizens of all colors marched through that church in August of 1955. That was 3 months before another great sister, Rosa Parks, sat out on a bus in order to stand up for justice. That was the first massive civil rights demonstration to see Emmett, because she kept that casket open. And Brother John Johnson of Jet Magazine took a picture of it. Put it in every Negro barbershop, every Negro beauty salon, and Negro home. And folks said, my God, is this happening in the land of freedom and liberty? You betcha. It's called terrorism. Mm-hmm. You call it segregation. No, segregation is to deodorize the term. Let's keep it funky. You terrorizing the people. You traumatizing the people. You stigmatizing the people. You trying to convince them that they ought to walk around when their backs are always humped over and laughing when it ain't funny and scratching when it don't itch. Wearing the mask, scared all the time. Just keep them so scared that they never want to unify. The first principle was never want to straighten their backs up. Maybe Till had a different idea. What did she say when she stepped to that left? My God, what a moment. She steps out, Socratic question, the dogma of white supremacy. Deep, genuine spirituality of love. Understanding justice is what love looks like in public. When you love folk, you can't stand the fact that they're being treated unjustly. When you really love folk, you can't stand the fact they're being treated unfairly. And you can feel the love in Mamie Till when she stepped to the lectern and she looked at the cameras from all around the world. And what did she say? Tears flowing. She said, I don't have a minute to hate, and I will pursue justice for the rest of my life. In the face of terrorism, not counter-terrorism. Look at black history. After 400 years of black people being terrorized, we never even considered talking about a black Al-Qaeda. Never. At all. Why? Because learning how to die with deep critical examination and still being tied to love linked to justice for everybody. It's been the major wave of black leadership. Now, I'm not suggesting that we haven't had black gangsters. I grew up with some black gangsters. I still got gangster proclivities myself. I don't know when I snapped out of that. True. But I'm talking about the best of black history. Universal vision rooted in coming to terms